All right, sorry, we're gonna get started in just 1 second again. Okay, so it's just I don't even know when the stream actually starts, so should start any second now. All right. All right, sorry, we're gonna get started. Give me 1 second. Tony, are you here already? Again? Or is that like the old video? Okay, that must be the old video. All right, let me send this video out real quick to everybody. And that way they have the link for it. Are you here already? Again? Or is that like the old? Okay, I'm gonna hyperlink this as well, so this one's easier to see and whatnot. Okay, so let's kick this off. Right, this one's gonna be a little bit shorter, but I thought that we were kind of on to something there, and so I'm sorry for getting aggressive, or I wasn't angry by any means, but for getting excited, I guess at the end of the other video. But I just think it's important, man. I here's the thing is that I get really into the idea that you have to want to do something or be something or whatever. Like, I guess it's about the way I started this job. Okay, so for those of you guys who don't know, and I guess that most of you probably do know, but when I started with this company, I was an active drug addict. um and I was swallowing. If you were to get surgery tomorrow, right, they'll give you those pain pills, whatever. I was swallowing the equivalent of 84 of those a day, every day when I first started in this job. I was a mess. I never thought I'd amount to anything in life. I never cared to think that I'd amount to anything in life. The only reason why I was working was to support a habit, but I could do that in many different ways. Mainly, the reason why I was working was to uh, keep up with my probation, to make sure that I didn't go to jail. Like, that was my purpose in working. And I started working for Anderson because I was given the opportunity, and I didn't want to work in warehousing anymore. And so that was my motivation. But then once I got started in the job, I liked the fact that other like that, not unlike a 9 to 5, kind of like whatever hourly pay job, I could determine what I made. And I guess I always, like, the way my life has always gone is I've always blamed myself for my issues. I've never looked to other people to explain why I have problems, why I have any mental issues that I do, why I had addiction problems. I could, no doubt I could. I mean, I could sit here and go, yeah, my parents, did they make the best decisions? No, probably not, right? My mother was an alcoholic. She got sober a year ago after the worst mental breakdown, and most people have ever seen. My father was, absent for a good portion of my life. I didn't have everything laid out for me. I didn't get to go to school. I didn't care about, I got kicked out of high school, right? So all of these things were working against me, and I could make plenty of excuses. And trust me, I was around excuses all the time. But there's two things that I won't latch on to. I'm not saying that I'll never have them, okay? Because that's ridiculous to say that. It's such an absolute. I'm not saying I'll never make an excuse, okay? But the things I don't latch on to in life are excuses and grudges. I don't see any reason for them. I can look deep in my heart, and I'm so thankful for this, because I mean, so many people are angry all the time. I get mad at people. There's people I don't like in this world. I don't like my sister very much for numerous reasons. There's no reason for me to like her. I don't, in my opinion, not a great person. I have no grudge against her at all. She could call me right now, and say, "Hey, I need to borrow money. Hey, I need a place to stay. Hey, can you help me get this car?" And I would help her in a second with whatever I could help her with, because I don't have a grudge against her, dude. It's not worth it, right? So that's one thing that I can say is I don't hold grudges and I don't latch on to excuses. Not that I won't make them. Yeah, we all get there. Okay. The other day, a situation came up at work, and my first gut reaction was to go, well, who can I blame for this, right? But I recognized that right away, and then within 5 minutes, I'm like, yeah, okay, this maybe other people could have something to do with this. I could affect it more than anybody else, and I did not do that, so it's my responsibility. My bad. I'm sorry. People appreciate that more. First of all, there was genuine appreciation from both the people that I had to answer to and the people that I did not throw under the bus. That genuine appreciation that you don't find very often. And so that's the first thing I'll tell you is that like people do appreciate that when you can obtain those qualities, right? And it's important. It's important for your own mind, right? If I'm never responsible for my failures, then guess what? I'm never responsible for my successes. If I'm never responsible for my successes, then I'm a pretty damn miserable person, right? I'm not going to be the happiest person in the world. I'm not going to be the most fulfilled person in the world. And so it's important to recognize those things. And like I was saying in the last video, and I got a little bit haywire with it or whatever, but what I was saying in the last video, I don't think loses its importance. The fact of the matter is that you can't be a punk ass or whatever. Like it's not like you can't go out there and everybody is bad, everybody's mean. It's the managers, it's my team lead, it's Paul, it's Andrew, it's my mom, it's my dad, it's the customers. You can't do that. You can't go out there and act like a petulant child and expect to do well. It's gonna come down to what you do, and you can do anything that anybody else can do. And there's people that truly get that, and then there's people that don't get that, right? So I want to bring attention. And listen, I intend to fully bring attention to every person that is like this tomorrow, that's been like this over the last month, but in a positive way. I want to give attention to one person in particular right now as an example for this video. This does not take away anything from anybody else, but Cameron Goss is a great example. Cameron Goss, if you look at his career here, he comes into this department, never having done this before, not being as social as some other people, but being extremely appreciative. And he sees the success that people like Brian are having, Harry and stuff like that, and he latches onto it in every positive way. 2 weeks into him starting to write leads, dude calls me at like 7 a.m. I didn't have the heart to tell him I was in the shower, and he's like, "Hey, I genuinely appreciate you, you congratulating me and stuff like that on my success, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be doing well and all this stuff." And we had like a 10-minute conversation or whatever about that at like 7 o'clock one morning or whatever, when he was up putting in the effort to reach out and say, "Hey, listen, I appreciate the opportunity." And when you look at what he's done so far in his career, this is a guy who wants growth, but who's not asked for anything. It's a guy who has said, "I'm going to prove through my actions that I deserve growth." And I know that it might take time. The average job, guys, the average growth to an next position in the job is 3 years. 3 years. The average life expectancy in this country is going down, but it's still like 78 or 77 years old. The average age of retirement is somewhere near 70 years old. Okay. So if you're 22 and you can't wait 6 months or a year to grow in a company, and oh my God, you have to walk outside and it's kind of hot out and you got to talk to people or whatever, and you can't handle that, I'm sorry, but good luck with whatever you go do, right? Good luck with whatever you go do. I'm telling you, in this job, this is one of the only true jobs out there. I'm not talking about some pyramid scheme, whatever, okay, some Amway, Scamway thing. What I'm talking about is this is one of the only jobs that I've seen. I'm sure there's other ones out there. I've been with the company for 13 years, since I was 20 years old. Okay, so I'm not maybe the best person to speak to job hopping and stuff like that. But there's only one job that I've ever been to, and I'm sure there's more out there, but one that I know, that I trust, that is a big, gigantic company with tons of opportunity, tons of different positions available, that allows for you to grow. And at 20 years old, 22 years old in my case, make 6 figures a year based on what you do. And then double that income and double that income and double that income if you do the right things. So the first thing that I would ask myself, if let's say, for example, I went down in pay next year or something like that, would be, what what can I do to impact this first? And then I can case study all the other reasons why I've done a bad job, failed, had some trouble, or something like that. But the first thing I'm going to do as a man is I'm going to go, what can I do to get better? What did I do wrong here? Where can I, how do I move forward? Right. And if you have a spouse, or if you have kids, then, or, brothers and sisters, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you have to look within and say, what can I do to reconcile this problem, right? And how do I not let this impact other people, especially the other people around me that are on my team, that are supposed to be my friends, that are supposed to be my teammates. And so my suggestion is that you look within yourself first, because going into training, going into training, you're not going to get anything out of it if you have this attitude of, there's nothing I can learn, I know everything, and this and that. And the least effective people think that way. I've never seen an effective person sit down in training and go, I know everything. I know everything. I'm good. I'm fantastic. So I'll tell you a quick story about two individuals that I'm not going to name. No, I'm going to just, to keep it brief, I'll tell you about one. I will tell you that this person was here for not a super long time, but they were here. I'm sorry, not a super long time ago. They were here for a little bit, but I remember sitting down. Okay, and I'm up in Altoona, and I have no problem saying that. And I'm sitting there across the table from this person. I'm doing a training, and there's other people in the room and whatnot too. But every time I say anything, this dude says, "Well, I do this. This is what I do." Right now, I wouldn't have a problem with that coming from half the people in the room. Sure, absolutely enlighten us. Tell us what you do. That would be great. Fantastic, right? No problem. But I look at this guy's lead flow and I'm going, this guy is literally the worst person in this department. The department's having a tough time right now. And this guy is the worst person at the job in the entire department. And he's going to seriously try to tell people what they should do right now instead of take down notes, whatever. Well, people like Corey are incessantly writing down notes and trying to get better in every way they can, even though they're already doing pretty good. You got this guy sitting there telling Corey what he's going to do, what he does, and this and that to make his success. He's got 3 leads for the month. It's, April 28th or whatever, and he's going to sit there and tell us this. It's crazy. It's madness. It's madness. Like, you have to be mentally insane to think that that's an acceptable way of working. Okay. So my suggestion is, again, when I go to these things, so I got a conference in July, for example, right? I'm going to have to speak on panels and stuff like that or whatever. The directive that Joe gave me that I will 100% follow, that I will do, that I do every single time, is ask a lot of questions and shut up. It's not going to be, people are going to ask you a lot of shit or whatever. Answer people's questions if you have to, but try as hard as you can to, every time somebody asks you a question, ask them something yourself to try to get information from them, because it doesn't matter if they are the worst of the worst, if they just started and they have no information. There's something in what they do that you can learn from, a skill that they have that you can learn from, a connection that you can make. And that's what you got to do. If you can get one thing out of it, it's so important. Get the one thing out of it, or stop wasting your time. If you have no growth left to do, well, then I feel sorry for a lot of you guys, because you're so young that you definitely should have growth left. I know I do. All right. So sorry for the monologue there. I guess it's all a monologue. Sorry for the monologue, though. I want to make sure that was clear. And I'm actually going to instruct people to watch this part of the training first, because I think it's the most important part, of what we do. Okay. Getting into lead quality. So naturally, when you work down the quality of a lead, okay, now here's what I mean by working down the quality of lead. Okay. Working down the quality of lead to me is when I focus on inspection more than I focus on the demo, okay, the quote. All right. Now, here's the deal: is that you got to let the customer know this is what we're doing. Like, no customer should get the impression that we're not going to leave them with an exact price quote to the penny. Every customer should know coming out of that conversation that is what they are getting. Okay. And it's an issue if they don't. Now, I expect that most people will let customers know that. Fine, no problem. Of course, most people are sitting there going, yeah, no doubt. Of course, this is stupid. Why are we going over this? We're going over it because it's come up, obviously, right? I don't just go over this stuff for fun. We're going over it because it's come up. People have had issues with this in the past. And so I want to make sure that it's addressed. I want to make sure that we discuss it. We're not going to beat a dead horse here, but we've literally had customers say, oh, no, 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 I'm going to cancel. Your guy told me I was just getting an inspection. So you got to work back up the quality of a lead, even if it seems like it was set based almost solely on the fact that we're giving an inspection. That's for the most part okay, but you have to, at the end, you have to tighten the appointment up, and we're going to go over now how to do that. So I say, is it just you here, sir? Are you married? The person goes, I'm sorry. I say, I have your last name is Jones. What's your first? I can't multitask for crap. I have your last name is Jones. What's your first? The person says, John. Okay, Mr. Jones, and I have your address as 123 Main Street. What is your phone number? Okay, great. Now, what's your home phone number, sir? Oh, okay. I don't have one. The person says, okay, well, in order to set up this appointment, we do need a second phone number. Would that be like a work number or a spouse's number? Oh, yeah, you can have my spouse's number. It's X, Y, and Z. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jones. That's much. Wow, that's much appreciated. Now, what's a good email address to reach you at? 123@123.com. Okay, great, Mr. Jones. Thank you. Now, this is important. This is where order becomes important. Ask those questions first. Now, some people have said, yeah, well, I want to ask about the spouse so that it's more natural when I ask about the spouse's phone number. Okay, first of all, I think the way that I just did it there, it is the most natural way that you can ever ask for it, because you're not even asking for the spouse's number. You're asking for that number or a work number. So you're asking for any phone number, essentially, right? And so it doesn't make it awkward unless you make it awkward, which you'd have to really try to make that awkward. To say to somebody, well, we do need a second phone number to reach you to set up this appointment. Would that be a spouse's number or work phone number? If somebody gets triggered off of that, then there's a deeper issue there. I would just walk away from the house. Sorry, almost just dropped one of my cards. I would just walk away from the house at that point, because there's obviously some sort of deeper mental issue there for the person to have that much of an issue with you asking for a work phone number or a spouse's phone. Okay, so either way, you're not going to run into an issue with that. It's the most natural way that you can ask. And by the way, too, it's a way that you ask without giving up the ability to ask again if you need to. Okay, so great to do this for you, Mr. Jones. Completely free service. Remind them of that. This is a completely free service. All that we ask, all we need is that when we set aside, we need to set aside at least 90 minutes, whether we need it or not. When we come to visit to discuss the project, we need to set aside at least 90 minutes, whether we need it or not. Fair enough. Okay. Now, the important points there are to emphasize, we need you to set aside at least 90 minutes. I can't tell you how many times, just the other day, I'm training with someone that's been here for a long time. And I go over this all with them. And then I say, okay, your turn. And the person pitches me and they say, we need you to set aside 90 minutes, whether we need it or not. It's at least 90 minutes, man. And it's super important that we do the at least 90-minute thing. I can't express that enough. At least is so important there, because what ends up happening is, what ends up happening is, if you don't put at least before that 90 minutes, okay, then that customer is at best going to give us 90 minutes. Now, you've seen it with your own appointments. You can go on a proximity marketing report and see with other people's appointments. There is so many appointments that the customer gives them a half hour, gives them 45 minutes, gives them an hour, gives them exactly 90 minutes. This is stuff, guys, that is crushing us, and it's crushing the sales reps. I know that here's the problem. I know we pay if they are there for 90 minutes. We probably should have originally expanded that to like 2 hours or something like that. It's crushed us doing that because it sends the wrong message. We're telling you at least 90 minutes. We're telling the customer, if we're doing it the proper way, at least 90 minutes, because we need at minimum 90 minutes. That at least means at minimum 90 minutes. So please, the very least you can do is two things. A, put that at least before the 90 minutes, and B, if they say they might have a scheduling conflict or even indicate to it at all, like, well, I got a doctor's appointment at 11:30 and they're going for a 10 o'clock, say, no, we better schedule this earlier, or no, let me call the call center back or whatever to reschedule this appointment. Be aware of what's going on there when a customer does that, because it's not doing anything for the department or the company. And quite frankly, in the long run, it's not doing anything for you either. It's only hurting us and our ability to pay on stuff like that. So just think about that um, when you're out there. Okay. And second, when we visit to discuss the project, you need to meet with all of the owners of the property, including you, a spouse, a family member, or significant other. So who would that be? Okay, so you're naming this list of people, and the benefit of this is that you're not being sexist or anything. You're not assigning a second party to them. Okay, you're not saying wife or husband, so you're not being, you're not stepping on anybody's toes. You're not being mean or rude to anybody in that case. Okay, so we need to set aside at least 90 minutes, whether we need it or not. So we need to set aside at least 90 minutes. We need you to set aside at least 90 minutes, whether we need it or not. Fair enough. Okay, and second, when we visit to discuss the project, we need to meet with all the owners of the property, including you, a spouse, a significant other. We used to say, or a partner, you can say it or not, or a significant other. So who would that be? Okay, great. And what's their name? All right. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Jones. Now, before we go, I just got a couple questions for you. Sir, like I said, we're going to give you, now here's the deal, right? Since this person might, in this case, is not like the super interested party, right? They're not somebody that's like gone through everything with you if you're trying to work back up lead quality. So what I like to say to the person is, look, Mr. Jones, like I said, we're going to give you a free inspection, but I want to make sure that I have the most thorough and exact information to give to our foreman that's coming out. So I just got a couple other questions for you. First, Mr. Jones, how old are the windows here? They're 20 years old. You said, okay, great. And roughly how many older windows do you have now? Okay. And then, how many windows would you suggest that we look at when we come up? Right. And you might have had a little bit of this discussion already. Maybe they said the living room, maybe they said whatever. You might say something along the lines of them checking out and doing the assessment of the windows. Sir, what we can do when we come out, just to remind you, is assess the windows for you. And then we can always give you like a quote on, let's say, the 3 worst ones or whatever. Or would you like to get the front looked at first? You could give them options like that, for example, give them ideas. A lot of people, Mr. Jones, only do the front of their home first. They do it in stages. So, we can come out and just take a look at that right now. Whatever the case is. So this, Mr. Jones, this window up here is rotting more severely than the other ones. So we should at least come out and give this one an inspection initially, and then we can expect whatever makes the customer happy and more comfortable is fine. Okay. Window problem conversation. I'm trying to make this go by as quick as possible. So, write down the information, fast forward if you need to. My suggestion is that you have the full, if you have to work back up quality, have the full window problem conversation again, because now the customer is going to be more apt to answer you back. So go through in detail each of the windows and each of the problems that you see. And I'm going to give you a couple of example questions of that in 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Just going to answer them. Okay. Sorry, just need to address that. All right. So just a couple examples of how I might dive into this conversation. So, Mr. Jones, I know we talked earlier and you said that you hadn't noticed the warping before. And I just want to make sure that you understand what I'm looking at. Okay. So it looked like in this window right here, sir, if you take a second, step with me. Okay. So then you just step over. So if you look right here, sir, you see the warping that's occurring right in the bottom of the window right here. See right at the very bottom how it doesn't line up. That's what I'm talking about. That's the warping issue that I was speaking of, Mr. Jones. Now that you see what I'm talking about, right? Okay, now that you see that, sir, how many more windows do you have in your home like that? I have no idea. It's probably what they're going to say, right? Okay, well, I'm just going to tell you, sir, I see it at least in this one over here as well. So I assume that there's other windows that are like that. Does that make sense? Okay, now that warping is going to happen because of sun damage, sir. Now, as I was explaining, you can see the kind of powdery substance on the windows here. You see the little black mold dots there? That's just like the cheap plastic lawn furniture that you see. It gets real like dusty, after like a year of sitting in the sun. Same exact process is happening to these windows right here. Okay, so I'm going to point out issues like that. This is a great avenue to say, sir, all vinyl windows like these are built with these things called weep holes. I noticed them at the bottom of your windows here. They don't drain properly. Okay, so water gets caught in them, mold starts to grow, etc., etc., etc. Have the full conversation, have them understanding what we're coming to look at after that conversation. Then to be thorough, ask about patio doors, ask about entry doors, because you're already getting the windows, right? Be thorough with them. Okay, you don't want to leave anything out because who knows? Maybe they need that patio door super bad. Maybe that's what they need more than anything else in their life is a damn new patio door, but they just didn't know to ask. And so you're now giving them something that they need that you weren't clear on before. Okay, that might, so it's worth going through it 100%. Okay. Okay, Mr. Jones, I've just checked off box number 1, which mentions at least 90 minutes for a visit for you and Mrs. Smith. Okay, well, you and Mrs. Jones, I guess, or Mrs. Smith, I guess, right? Okay, so mention the spouse. I've just checked box number 1, which mentions that we set aside at least 90 minutes for both you and Mrs. Jones. Okay, now box number 2, Renewal by Andersen does everything by the book. With the telemarketing laws being so strict today, we do need your written permission to contact you. Now, you might notice there that I said written permission, okay? And by the way, to Skylar, 56. Everybody remember the number 56. It will prove that you watched the video, okay? So 56, just remember that. Skylar, if you watch this, and I'll know that you watch it because you'll call it out in the middle of the meeting and ruin it for everybody else. I'm just kidding. But 56, right? So so when you're down at that part, okay, I know that what we've been doing and what we'll continue doing is we'll say verbal consent. Okay, we need your verbal permission to contact you. Is that okay? And that's fine. I don't want to eliminate that. I don't want to change this on you guys. I don't want to, what do you call it? Pull the rug out from under you or whatever. Okay, I don't want to change things for you. What I'm saying is that feel free to, if you feel a problem with your lead quality, feel free to ask in the way that I just did. It's a better way to get more commitment from the customer. So if I want a super high level of commitment from the customer, when they check and sign the box, that gives that extra level of commitment, that extra layer of commitment. Okay. And then remind them, okay, great, I'm going to get the office on the phone. It will just take a second. Okay. Now, and we're not skipping any steps. No, I'm not. Okay. Before you or while you do that, if this is the lead that we're talking about, because we're super, super, super high lead quality we want on this lead, right? We want this lead to run more than any other lead out there. Put such a special emphasis on this lead running because of the way that it's set, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, Mr. Jones, just to remind you, when we come out, we're going to give you a full assessment on the windows. And then most importantly, Mr. Jones, we're going to leave you with a quote that's good for 1 full year. No other company is doing it right now, so take advantage of that. At least hold on to that information. Okay, I'm going to get the office on the phone. We'll just take a second. Boom. Okay, call the office. Let them schedule the appointment. Don't talk while the office is talking to the customer. Don't talk to them. Just let them do their thing. After they are done, put special emphasis on the promotions, okay? And remind them to show their spouse. So it could go something like this. Mr. Jones, right now we're offering, some of the most interesting promotions that we've ever offered. Obviously, interest rates are up. It's a super important problem in this country, but our company believes in trying to lower that cost for the customer. So right now we're offering no money down, no interest and no payments for 24 full months. So for 2 full years, it's a great promotion that's going to be ending soon, no doubt. So you definitely want to at least take a look and lock the price in for yourself. And second, we are also offering, because of our 25th anniversary, or 27th, I guess, but because of COVID, 25th, we are offering an additional 25% off your total cost. So if you do decide to do something, at least you have the information available right there. Now, before I go, Mr. Jones, I got one more important thing to give you, sir. Because you've been so kind to me today, I have these gift cards. It's a $500 gift card for new windows. So if you were to ever decide to get something in your home, you wouldn't even need to make this $500 purchase. Take $500 off your total cost, okay? Because you saved us some money by allowing us to come out and see your beautiful home. Because you saved our company, because you'll by allowing us to come out here while we're already in your neighborhood to come out and see your beautiful home. You can see how tired I'm getting. It's kind of crazy. Okay, thank you, sir. Do you have any other questions? All right, please make sure you remind Mrs. Jones that we're going to be coming to see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. You have a wonderful and beautiful day. Okay, guys, I'm going to close this out. I'm super tired. I'm like falling asleep as I'm talking. Okay, so I apologize for putting you to sleep as well. When this is fully up and posted tomorrow, because it will go through like a little cycle on YouTube where they're approving it, then I'm going to hyperlink it. Okay, and I appreciate your time that you've given me, and we are the best in the country for a reason. So let's continue doing that